Hello, Dory. Welcome in, my friend. Welcome in, everybody, to the Soul Group meeting. Can somebody kindly give me a mic check, please? Let me know if the background music is all right. Make sure the level's not too loud or too quiet. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Group meeting. Thank you, Dory. Thank you for the mic check. I appreciate that. So, if anybody has come across this live and you're still here, and this is your first time seeing my face, please get my attention so I can give you the warm welcome that you deserve. I try not to repeat it over and over again because we have hundreds of members of the Soul Group that are in here every day, and they probably get sick and tired of hearing that. Hello, Tony. Welcome, brother. Hope everyone is doing well. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for taking time out of your busy days and your schedule to commune with us here on the Soul Group. That truly means a lot to me. Welcome back, Laura. Good to see you. So, I have a little bit of housekeeping items that I want to mention to you guys, and Jenna would not have it any other way. This is my calling. There's no convincing me at this point that I'm not being asked by Spirit to do this very thing as part of my calling. So I am honored to be able to be here before you guys and to speak my truth, and hope that something that I say at some point triggers a spark within someone else that comes across this, even if it is to start asking questions and to start digging. You know, that's usually how the process of awakening goes for a lot of people. So I'm glad to be here playing my part. So I'm going to start off real quick with a couple of housekeeping items, and you'll probably be hearing a lot more of this in the future just because I am writing a book right now, as most of you guys are aware of. Kathy, thank you so much for that, my friend. Give me 1 second and I'll give you the welcome that you deserve. I'm working on the book, which is titled An Aquarian Handbook to Navigating the Apocalypse. It's not nearly as nefarious as it sounds. Most of you guys are well aware of that book. Hello, Anna. If you are interested and you want to get a free sneak peek into the book, which is in work still, I don't have the launch date yet. But if you want to get a free sneak peek at that, if you go to my website at magirising.com, thank you, my friend. Go to magirising.com, and as soon as you go there, an annoying little pop-up will show up on the screen. That only happens the very first time that you go to the website. If you put in your email address and sign up for the Magi Rising mailing list, you will be sent a link to download the prologue to my book. And that's really just to help get this out there as much as I possibly can between now and publishing day. Hello, John. Welcome, my friend. It's good to see you. So the prologue is not very long. It's, I think, 6 pages, something like that. But it contains some really good information, and it contains within it the overarching theme of the book for An Aquarian Handbook. And again, it's absolutely free. If you just go to my website, and actually here on TikTok, there's a link in my bio as well on my link tree. You'll have to scroll down through them a little bit, I think. But there is a button now where you can click to download the prologue, and it will ask you for your email address to be added to the mailing list. That way, if you are interested in the book, I can send you updates on the progress, and once the launch date is set, I can notify you of that as well. And eventually, I will be setting up on the website the pre-order for that for anybody who's interested. Okay. Oh, one more thing. I actually did my homework from the last live, and I remembered. Awesome. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that. I remembered to look into hosting a watch party. We've talked for several months now as a collective about hosting a watch party for the Soul Group to do a screening, a private screening of the movie The Matrix from 1999, because it is essentially, it's not just an awesome sci-fi movie, right? There is a ton of Western philosophy embedded within that movie. It could be used to teach ascension. There is so much truth embedded within that movie. And so I want to host a watch party, and we've talked about this, but I keep forgetting to look into it. So I've done that. What I discovered is I can't just broadcast it here on TikTok, unfortunately. Not even if I just am commentating on it and you can see it in the background. That is illegal, and I could get slapped with copyright infringement, and I don't want to do that. But I did find out how to go the legal route to be able to do this, and I'm waiting for a response back from the organization that holds the copyright for that movie, for Warner Brothers. And it's possible to purchase a license for a private viewing as long as, you apply for it in advance and then it is approved. So that's in the works. If anybody is interested in joining the watch party for The Matrix, just let me know. I don't remember the date that I selected at this point because they ask, but it is in June. I wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time to get this set up ahead of time. And if you've never seen The Matrix, it is a must. A word of caution, there's violence in it. There's quite a bit of violence in it, but there's more truth than there is violence. So I think that it outweighs the negatives there. Okay, so enough of the housekeeping stuff. If anybody is here for the very first time, if this is your first time seeing this broadcast or seeing my face, welcome, my friend, to the Soul Group meeting. What this is it's not just a regular TikTok live. This is a community that we have started for anyone and everyone interested in spirituality and spiritual awakening. The entire purpose of the Soul Group is community, so that we can come together and commune with one another, build friendships, build connections. The reason for that, other than community, is that none of us are given all of the answers. None of us are given all of the truth or all of the experiences, right? We're each given a little piece of the puzzle. And the more of us that can come together and share our authentic piece of the puzzle, we can begin to pop those pieces together and see the big picture. Hello, Arlena. Welcome back, my friend. Nobody has all the experience, right? I know I certainly don't. But we have hundreds of members of the Soul Group. And between us, that is a vast wealth of knowledge and information and experience. The Soul Group as a whole are very warm, loving, and welcoming individuals. And we're all different, right? We're all unique. But for the most part, our focus is on spiritual awakening. So that's the overall theme of the Soul Group community and what this is all about. We right now are meeting twice a week here on TikTok at 7 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday and Saturday. That will change in the future. That's just where we're at with it right now. And we get together twice a week. We check in with each other, talk about current events in the world, what's going on, and we discuss a wide array of topics. Everything ranging from spiritual awakening in the age of Aquarius to past lives, reincarnation, Dolores Cannon, Edgar Cayce, all of it. If it has to do with spirituality, we talk about it. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, consider sticking around. We would love to have you become a part of the Soul Group community. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate you checking that out, by the way. So, also, awesome, Jen. I'm glad that you found us. Thank you for that, my friend. So, one last thing, because I usually forget to mention this, and then we'll get started. If you desire more connection than just the TikTok live twice a week, we also have a dedicated Telegram group just for the Soul Group community. Of course, that's entirely up to you if you want to be a part of that or not. But if you desire to get to know each other, to communicate whenever, Telegram is where it's at for the Soul Group. If you join the group online, then you can message the entire group as a whole 24/7, or you can message a single member of the group individually. And unlike TikTok, you can share pictures, videos, links from outside websites, entire videos, even PDF books. So there's a lot more that can be done with that Telegram group. If you're interested in that, there's also a link in my bio for that. And with any of this, if you guys want to be a part of it and you have trouble getting signed up for it, just message me and I will help you get that figured out. For the most part, though, the website is the central hub for the Soul Group community, MagiRising.com. If you go to that website, there's a pop-up where you can sign up for the mailing list and you will get a download for the prologue to my new book. Right up at the top, there's a line of social media icons for everything if you want to be on it. There's a YouTube channel. We have, of course, the TikTok channel, the Telegram group, Facebook channel, the whole 9 yards. Kathy, it happens quite a bit, and it's not just you, my friend. I am as well, which is amusing because I'm an Aquarius. But sometimes electronics and I do not get along. Thank you for sharing this live out, Beth. I appreciate that. Oh, we got an Aries. Awesome. I am an Aries rising, so I'm very familiar with the energy. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so as usual, I do not have a topic to discuss with you guys. For the new people here that's not used to this format, just to let you know what I usually do. I usually start the live and then we just see where it goes. I originally started carefully selecting a topic when I first started going live, and I would figure out exactly what I wanted to talk about and what I wanted to say. But then I realized that it was too scripted, and I was speaking solely from my waking consciousness. And instead, I've started just hitting the go live button, ad-libbed, and then seeing where it goes. And that usually works beautifully. What we need to discuss usually is exactly what winds up getting discussed. And I'm free to tap into my higher self and my spirit guides and not be so rigid and put myself into a box. Arlena says, do you know about chart progressions? Yes, I am, as you guys know, I'm an amateur astrologer. I know a little bit about a little bit. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. Welcome in. That being said, The bulk of the astrology that I'm most familiar with and that I'm more comfortable with is natal chart interpretations, and specifically karmic astrology, and of course your life path, because I think all of you guys have had one of those readings from me at this point. Progressions, secondary progress charts. The concept there is basically for every year of your life. So if you're 41 years old, as I am, then the chart is progressed forward for 41 days. And, excuse me, guys, the placements of the planets change, for especially the inner planets, the faster moving ones. They change sign, they change houses, and so the interpretation changes, the energy of that changes. And that's because we as human beings evolve, right? You're not the same person today that you were the moment that you incarnated into the material realm. Because we learn, we interact with other people, we make mistakes, we learn from those mistakes, we evolve. And so does our chart. And that's essentially what a progress chart does. And they can be incredibly powerful. That being said, it's not my strong suit. I have the astrology software where I can pull up a progress chart, and they can be incredibly insightful. But again, really my wheelhouse with astrology is things like understanding your Chiron placement, the lunar nodes for understanding your soul's path, your mission, and then karmic astrology. I get caught up on my comments here. Yazzie Hunter, I don't know if you're still in here, but what's really amusing about that is I have been so many times people have come across, they'll just drop through, people just scrolling through lives, and every once in a while something will catch their eye and they'll stop and listen in and then post a comment, and they don't really know, they're not familiar with the soul group. And a lot of the things that I say sounds like, I might wear a tinfoil hat, because guess what? I am a critical thinker, and I encourage every single one of you to be critical thinkers. My personal motto is think for yourself, question authority. And my belief is, if a truth is so fragile it cannot be questioned, it's not the truth. And whenever we have societal pressures of conformity that says, oh, look at this person, they're asking questions, they're thinking critically, chastise them, we've got a problem, right? If the system is so fragile it cannot sustain being questioned by critical thinkers, then maybe it's time for that system to crumble and be replaced. That's my own humble opinion. So I am very much a critical thinker, and I think we need more of that in society today, not less of it. So if that means I need a tinfoil hat, then maybe I need to break out the tinfoil and fashion one. And I didn't mean anything to you about that, my friend who made that comment. I mentioned it because it was amusing. That's came up probably 50 times or more since I've started doing these lives. Nope, we were born with our tinfoil hats. Anna says I had a progression done, changed, and matches me more. It is really amusing how that works. And if you guys have not, for those of you that are into astrology, if you've never had a progress chart done, I do encourage you to do that. I think you will be pleasantly surprised, because we are not static. We are not unchanging. If we don't ever change throughout the entirety of our lifetime, there's a serious problem, right? And our charts are meant to evolve and change with us. And that's the beauty of a progress chart. Okay, Dory says, can we talk about how it feels to know things and have people around you who don't? How to navigate family. I think that's an excellent topic. Let's discuss that. Let me get to the bottom of the comments so I don't get too far behind real quick. Does the ARE do it? You can get from the Association of Research and Enlightenment, Edgar Cayce's foundation, you can get just about every type of astrology reading that is available through them. So unless they've recently changed that, yes, you can get a progress chart through the ARE. And I do recommend them for an astrology reading because they're dirt cheap. If you hire a professional astrologer, in most cases, for an in-depth astrology reading, you're looking at a couple $100 for a good one, right? And the ARE, last I checked, was about $15 to $20 for it, just as in-depth, or sometimes even more in-depth of a reading. Astrology by numbers. Oh, they don't do them anymore? Oh, that's not good. That is a sad day if they stop doing those. Okay, so Dory, let's talk about your question here, or your topic. So how do you approach things whenever you feel like you know things and other people don't? First of all, I encourage everybody to get in on this conversation instead of just listening to what the talking head of the stranger on the internet has to say. But I think it is inevitable for those walking a spiritual path, especially the path of spiritual awakening, that you will encounter other people who are not in the same place as what you are. It's that way by design. It's supposed to be that way. We don't exist, as a group, all by ourselves, those walking the path of spiritual awakening, and then the rest of society is segued off on the other side of their island, right? We are meant to interact with those people, because as we begin to awaken, to question things, and begin to poke and prod, searching for the truth, we trigger that in other people around us. But it can be frustrating at times, because everyone has free will, right? And of course, we're not all in the same place. Everyone is along or on a different path, at different placements along the path. And so it's not only can we not, but I say we should not forcibly try to get other people to awaken. It happens in divine timing, when the time is right. And I know this is not exactly what you're talking about, but I think this is the core of the bigger question there. It's like a really good analogy for this is harvesting produce, fruit, let's say. It does no good to go and harvest an entire orchard full of apples prematurely, right? They're no good. You have to wait until they're ripe. I know in modern mechanized practices of farming, we do that an awful lot. We will harvest things before they're ripe, and then sometimes we even coat them or spray them with ripening agents, and then package them to be shipped around the world, right? But in reality, you don't want to go pick a half-ripe apple off of a tree and try to eat it, or any other fruit, because it's not reached the sweet spot yet. It's not ready. It's not ripe for harvest. And it is very much the same way with human beings and with spiritual awakening. It happens when we are ripe for it, when our energy is reached that point to where it is ready to progress on the path. And so it's advisable, in my opinion, not to try to rush that process for other people. I personally feel like our best stance is to plant seeds of spiritual awakening everywhere that we go. Let your light shine like a beacon into the darkness, right? So that others may see that light and be intrigued by it. Speak your truth everywhere you go, because that truth that you speak is planting seeds in their mind. And our job is not to necessarily say this is the truth and this is why it's the truth, and then try to persuade or convince them that it is the truth, so much as it is to plant those seeds in their mind. And then when they are ripe, those seeds will begin to grow, and they will start to question, and they'll start to ask questions and dig for truth. And then that's when we can be there to support them and be like, oh, have you heard about this? Have you looked over there? I think that that is probably the best way to approach the topic. But I know, Dory, exactly what you mean. Whenever you see something or you know something, like precognition or clairaudience or whatever, clairvoyance. Maybe you are in tune with your spirit guides, and so you receive messages from your spirit guides, and you can see things happening through that that guidance, that spiritual guidance that other people won't see. If you try to persuade them and they're not ready for it, then most likely they will rebel against it and they will be closed off to it. One more thing that I'll say about this before I move on. Excuse me, guys, there's a ton of pollen in the air where I'm at today. So I talk all the time about our minds acting like an old television set. We have the ability to tune the receiver that is our mind, right? Just like a television, there are hundreds of different channels being broadcast over the airwaves simultaneously. They're multi-layered, stacked on top of each other, all co-inhabiting the same space. But if you turn on the television set, you don't see all 100 of those channels at the same time. You only see the one channel that the tuner is specifically tuned into, and then you receive that channel. That's how our consciousness receives or perceives our reality, right? But those that are on the path of spiritual awakening, they've adjusted that tuner to receive a different channel, a different reality than people who are not, right? And so they're experiencing a very different reality than what you are, or what someone who is much more spiritually evolved, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? We've all been in that place at some point. But the point is, the information is all there, but their tuner is not tuned into it, so they cannot receive it. They can only receive that which they are tuned to, just like us and just like anybody else. And no matter how much we try to get them to see it, if they're not tuned into that, it's not there for them as far as understanding it. Okay, now give me a second to try to catch back up with the comments, because I got way behind there. My couple $100 are going to go towards backpacking gear. That sounds amazing. I wanted to buy the CD from the ARE. I've let everyone go. There's usually a lot of that along the path of spiritual awakening. It definitely can be alienating for sure. The Schumann Resonance said today is a special pivoting day for the Earth ascension. I hadn't seen that. Did they give any specifics about that? I did see a huge spike, but my son wants me to have committed what orbs that live in my backyard. I think oftentimes that orbs are spiritual entities that are from higher dimensions of awareness that are making themselves visible in our dimension of awareness. One of the things, for those of you that are new here or that haven't heard me talk about this, perhaps my biggest topic is the fact that we are at the end of an age and we are entering into the new age, which is why everyone says new age stuff, right? We're entering into the age of Aquarius, which is the golden age, the 1,000 years of peace that it's been prophesized in numerous world religions. But the transition from one age to the next is not always smooth. And this age is more than just an age. It is the completion of the great year, the full 26,000 year precession cycle. And so it's a big deal, right? One of the major components of that is the physical mechanism that ushers in the age of Aquarius and triggers spiritual awakening is the earth on a physical plane experiences a magnetic polar reversal, and that's ongoing right now, right? It's not quite mainstream, though mainstream science does admit we are in the middle of a magnetic polar reversal. Finally, it's nice that they finally admitted that. The reason I'm mentioning this to you is that I believe the magnetic field of our planet acts as a Faraday cage and blocks signals. It blocks energy, cosmic rays, energy from space. And it is the physical mechanism, in my opinion, of the veil that separates different dimensions of reality so that they don't completely intermingle with one another. It's what separates our waking conscious reality from the spiritual dimensions of life, the higher dimensions and the lower dimensions. But right now, because we're in the middle of a magnetic polar reversal, the poles are wandering and the field is weakening, which means the veil is thinning. So more and more people are having experiences of seeing things like orbs, or any other number of things that are happening. That's not anything new. These things have been happening as long as humanity has existed. But the thinner the veil gets, the more those things will happen. Okay. Yeah, I did not get caught up with my comments. I apologize, guys. Give me just a second. Like always, you're speaking right to me. Thank you for that, Dory. I appreciate you. Then a trajectory shift. Well, congratulations. Hello, Judith. Welcome back, my friend. Kathy, if you join the Telegram group, you can. That's the whole reason why we started that. Just for that very example, because you can't send a picture on TikTok. But if you join the Telegram group, you can post it in the group chat and the entire soul group can see it. Or you can just send it to an individual member of the group, whatever you're comfortable with. Brock, how are you, my friend? I've been meaning to check in on you. I hope you're not overworking yourself. Kathy says, get out. Kathy, by the way, that is my topic. The cycle, where we're at. That is my calling. I was tasked by Spirit 20 years ago to bring this information into the mainstream, to share that information of the end of the age and the beginning of the next age. That's exactly where we're at. And we all signed up to be a part of this. This, by the way, is why so many people are awakening today. Because as the magnetic field gets weaker, the Faraday cage that shields our planet from outside energy and influence, it's getting weaker and weaker by the day. So more and more of that energy is making it through to the ground. And it's not just energy, right? And it's impacting us. It's triggering mass awakenings, and it is triggering evolution, not just physical evolution, but energetic and spiritual evolution as well. That is my primary topic that I discuss quite a bit here. I think I might have found my niche. Oh, okay, Judith, thank you for reminding me. I do remember that now. I do remember. Thank you for jogging my memory. Hello, Kentucky girl in Texas. Welcome back, my friend. It's been a while. Kathy says, not just energy. Let's talk about that. I'm sorry if somebody mentioned a topic and I missed it. I got sidetracked. But once I get in that flow state, that tends to happen. So let's talk about not just energy that's making it through. If you're not familiar with this topic and this information, you might want to buckle up a little bit, because I'm going to throw a lot of information at you, and it's a lot to take in all at once. But science is finally coming around to understand that the primary driver of evolution on this planet, and by evolution I mean actual physical, biological evolution, is the sun. The sun is what triggers that evolution. Thank you for that subscription, Kathy. I appreciate that. Our sun, is a star, and it gives off light. But mainstream science has pretty much believed for hundreds of years that light is just simply light. It's just energy, electromagnetic energy that operates on a certain spectrum of the wavelength of electromagnetic energy that we perceive biologically as visible light. It is that, but it is so much more than that. And science is beginning to understand that coded within the electromagnetic vibration of light waves is energy, consciousness. It's energetic consciousness. It is information, tons and tons of information. Geneticists have said for a long time, after mapping the human genome, that the vast majority of our DNA sequence is junk DNA. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it's huge. The vast majority of it, they say, is inactive and it's junk, right? But science now knows that our environment, especially the sun, turns on or off the gene expression. So things like hereditary diseases, cancer, any of those things, or could be genes that you carry within your genetics that lay dormant. You could go your entire life and never have cancer, but the information for it, and this is just an example, it could be whatever, it could be Parkinson's disease, or it doesn't even have to be a disease. That's just one of the little sliver of things there. The point is, your genetics are not set in stone. It evolves, right? Those genes can be turned on and they can be turned off. If you develop Parkinson's disease, that is because that gene has been expressed. It has been activated and turned on. But just as it was turned on, it can also be turned off. Science is beginning to understand that the information that turns on and off those genes comes through the light emitted by the sun, among other sources. That makes, by the way, if you hear people talking about DNA codes, light code activation, those kind of things, this is the physical mechanism of what they're talking about. It's more than just our sun. There's also cosmic rays. There is a galactic superwave that emanates from the very center of the Milky Way galaxy, and most likely every other galaxy that exists. And what it is a wave of electromagnetic energy that is generated at the very core, the nucleus of our galaxy, and then it radiates outward from the center to the outermost edges of the galaxy in waves, like waves of the ocean. And every 12,000 years, our solar system encounters the next wave of that electromagnetic energy. Each ripple is about 12,000 years apart. That's how long it takes our solar system to get from one ripple to the next ripple. And because it is electromagnetic energy, it triggers an electromagnetic reversal of the entire system. And that's ongoing right now, not just on Earth, but in every planet, on every planet in our solar system, and within our bodies as well. Because it's not purely physical. There's also a very spiritual component to all of this. That's what is triggering our spiritual evolution and our spiritual awakening. Which part, Kathy? Let me know where to start. I'm not sure exactly which part you need me to repeat, but I would be more than happy to. Pole shift alert. Welcome in, my friend. We were just discussing your topic. The part about the galactic superwave, or I know that's a lot of information. If you're not familiar with this, it's a lot to wrap your mind around. Trust me, I get it. Kentucky girl, you're more than welcome to do that, but just so you know, I will download this and upload the replay on my YouTube channel, and you're more than welcome to do either one of those if you want. Hello, Jen. We are discussing the physical mechanism of our spiritual awakening at the end of the age and the beginning of the age of Aquarius. Black Rose, welcome in, my friend, and thank you for letting me know this is your first time here. You're very welcome. Okay, so backing up real quick, let's talk about the 12,000 year portion of this. This would be a lot easier to explain if I had some graphics that I could pop up and show you right now. Many new people, Dory. Absolutely. It's beautiful. I love it. Thank you, Aaron. So, if you can imagine the Milky Way galaxy, or any galaxy, it kind of looks a lot like an egg, a fried egg, right? At the center of it, like the yolk, is the galactic center, basically. It is a very condensed system. Things are a lot closer together. There's more electromagnetic connection. There's a lot more energy condensed at that point. It generates a wave of electromagnetic energy that ripples outward from the center to the outer edges. And it looks kind of like the waves of an ocean, water rolling in, you know. Our solar system and other solar systems within the galaxy move. They're not stationary in space. And so our solar system's kind of trucking along, and every 12,000 years it encounters the next wave of that electromagnetic energy coming from the center of the galaxy. And each successive wave is a reverse in polarity. So if you have one wave here, the next wave is going to be positive, negative, and so on. So each time we encounter it, every 12,000 years, it triggers an electromagnetic reversal of the entire system. But more than that is the spiritual component of this, because whenever it triggers an electromagnetic reversal, like what's ongoing right now on planet Earth, the poles, the North and South Pole, are moving. They're not staying in the same place. They're racing towards each other. The closer the poles get to one another, the weaker the magnetic field becomes. I believe, this is my own personal theory, and I don't have much science to back this part of it up, but I believe the magnetosphere acts as a Faraday cage, not only for things like cosmic rays, charged particles, solar wind, and stuff like that. We know it does that. But I believe there's an energetic consciousness aspect of this, that Faraday cage, the magnetosphere, shields, and it acts as the veil that separates different dimensions of existence from cohabiting with one another. So the weaker the field gets, the thinner the veil gets. And there will come a time, as the magnetic polar reversal quickens, that the veil is non-existent and different dimensions of existence co-inhabit the same space at the same time. There's a lot of prophecy to back that up from many different systems, many different religions, many different cultures talk about this. And I believe, if you're familiar with Dolores Cannon's, let's say, story of the new Earth, and how people will basically phase out, and some will go to the new Earth, some will stay with the old Earth that perishes. Basically, it's reset. I believe this is the physical mechanism of how that happens. Let's just say that collectively, humanity stands at a crossroads right now. Everyone must pick a path. Either we continue down the path of self-destruction, of raping and pillaging and plundering the earth for greed, for profit, seeking after selfish endeavors, forsaking all else, right? The path of self-destruction that humanity has been on for thousands of years. Or we choose to evolve. We choose to take a different path and become the solution, right? And that looks like embracing the energies of the age of Aquarius, embracing the law of one, and understanding that all life is sacred and holy, and there is one vast energy that animates all life, and we all are a part of that, and it has been called God by other people. Embracing the totality of that, everyone has to pick one of those paths. So let's say some of us take this path, some of us take that path, and then the veil disappears. The veil goes down. It goes down briefly, everyone makes their decision, and then the poles reposition themselves on the earth, regenerates the magnetic field, and the veil pops back up. Whichever side you're on at that time becomes your new reality. That's the phasing out that Dolores Cannon talked about. And this, I believe, is the physical mechanism of how that actually works. And of course, I have no proof for any of that. There's no science that says this, right? Because no one's looking at it. This is my own intuition. And as far as the polar reversal, there's a ton of science to back that up. There's a ton of science to show it happens like clockwork every 12,000 years, that it's happened over and over again. There's a lot of science to support all of that. But as far as the magnetic field as the veil, as far as I know, I'm the only one really talking about that. I haven't heard anybody else mentioning that. Dolores is my personally selected extra grandma. I love that. Okay, guys, I'm sure that I missed a ton of comments in there, and I do apologize. If you were trying to get my attention or asking a question, please do so again so that I can see it, because I got buried in my comments there. The important thing is, whenever we talk about the polar reversal, the end of the age, things like the apocalypse, it's easy to see the negative, fearful aspects of this. It's the end of the world. The reality is, it's not the end of the world. It's the end of the age. It's the end of the systems of control that have been in place for thousands of years. It's the end of the power being in the hands of the elect few who trample on the necks of the people, right? It's the end of selfishness and greed and believing that I am more important than you, or I am more important than whatever. We should plow this entire forest and burn it all to the ground so we can put up a parking lot kind of thinking, because we can make money off of that. Those are all outdated systems that belong to the old way of doing things, the old age. We have reached the point to where the energy of the age of Aquarius is beginning to prevail over the age of Pisces, the old age. And so more and more, we're starting to see the things of the Aquarian age. So what does that look like? I mentioned things like the law of one, because Aquarius is the humanitarian of the zodiac. It's the people, right? So power is going to change hands from the elite ruling class, and it will go back to the people. But more than that, in astrology, the glyph for Aquarius is typically a woman holding a pitcher of water, and she's dumping the water out on the earth. It's not just water that she's dumping out. It is the waters of truth, because Aquarius is the truth bearer. So Aquarius, in the age of Aquarius, the truth will be revealed. The veil falls that has been casting delusions before us. This belief that we are separate from all life. We exist as an island unto ourselves. That is a delusion. And the veil falling removes that delusion. But it's not just the big scale illusions. It's at the societal level, as a part of a country, and even down to the individual level. Falsehoods are going to be exposed. Truth is going to be revealed. And we've already started to see that. That's why we have things like the disclosure hearings in Congress right now. That's why we have child sex trafficking rings being exposed before the entire world. Hundreds of other things, right? But also, Aquarius rules, it is a rebel, and it rules electricity, innovation, invention, and technology. Which, by the way, that's how you know we're moving into the age of Aquarius, because within the span of an entire human lifetime, we went from horse-drawn carriages and candlelight to everyone carrying around a supercomputer in their pocket, nanotechnology, genetic engineering, and spaceflight, just to name a few, in the span of a single human lifetime. Our entire world has been electrified. You can scarcely find anywhere that doesn't have electricity, right? That's because we're moving into the age of Aquarius. So more and more of those things are going to be coming out. Absolutely, Dory. Let's go back to that. I just now seen your comment. Will you give a quick science lesson on what the poles are and what they do, what reversal means? So, our planet and other planets, it's not just the Earth, generates an electromagnetic field. Like a bar magnet. If you remember playing with those in school, the thin, long bar magnets, one end will be positive, the other one will be negative. If you try to stick the two of this same ends together, they will repel one another. You can barely force them to get close to each other, but they repel. The other ends, if you are reversed in polarity, they will attract each other very powerfully. The Earth is structured the same way, basically like a giant bar magnet running through it, so that one is positive and the other is negative, basically. And it generates this cocoon of electromagnetic energy. Our entire universe is electrical, right? Electricity existed long before people like Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. They just discovered how to tap into that. Every time the sun has a massive solar flare or we get hit by a wave of space weather, such as solar wind, that energy does not directly impact the Earth because there is a cocoon of electromagnetism surrounding it, generated by the poles. And so it impacts that force field, basically, and some of it is deflected off. Some of it chases the shape of the field and then comes down around the poles, like the North Pole. That's why you have the aurora borealis around the polar region, because those charged particles are following the field and going into the Earth towards the polar region. Whenever we are in a magnetic excursion, like what is going on right now, the once very strong and structured magnetic field becomes irregular. It's not homogeneous, not all the same strength everywhere on the planet. Some places are much stronger than others. An example of this is what's known as the South Atlantic anomaly. It is basically a big hole in the magnetic field. It is the weakest point on Earth for magnetic protection. And it was originally in the South Atlantic Ocean. And it started stretching to encompass a large swath of South America now. It's grown and it's got weaker and weaker every year since it was first discovered. And that is because on the exact opposite side of the planet, if you were to see the globe and say South America is over here on this side where the hole is at, if you were to draw a line straight through the Earth, straight over to the other side, that is the place where the North Pole and the South Pole are racing to meet each other, and is creating a hole on the opposite side of the earth where it's getting weaker. Once they get close enough, the magnetic field basically vanishes or gets very, very weak. And then the poles will, they'll pop up on opposite sides of the planet and regenerate the magnetic field again. I don't know if that answers your question. If not, just let me know. Where are we as the timeline wise to the 12,000 year mark? We're there. We're at the end of the 12,000 year cycle right now, my friend. That's backed up by science. It's backed up by legend. And I know I'm way behind on my comments, but let me just say this real quick because this is my topic. This is what I love to talk about. It's why I'm here. Edgar Cayce. Anyone here is not familiar with the work of Edgar Cayce and you're interested in these things, that should be, in my opinion, your next topic to go explore. Edgar Cayce, the Sleeping Prophet, was the most documented psychic of all time. And about 100 years ago, he started in a deep hypnotic state. He accessed the Akashic records and he started talking about the polar reversal that's happening now. He predicted it was going to happen. And he talked about earth changes that were going to happen on our planet. The coastlines would change. Some lands would sink while new land would rise out of the ocean. And he, in some of his readings later said, this happened 12,000 years ago to Atlantis. That's what happened to Atlantis. It caused their continent to break up and disappear beneath the ocean 12,000 years ago in the last polar reversal. And there's a huge story that is 1,000 years ago in the last polar reversal. And there's a huge story that is all about the cycle, the diaspora of the Atlanteans, where they migrated to and why. And I explore that at length in my new book. So if you guys are interested in that, please go to my website, and when you see a pop-up, put in your email address in there and you will get a link to download the free copy to the prologue for my book. And it'll give you just a little taste of what to expect once my book goes live. But again, it's absolutely free. When am I speaking again? Thank you, Faye. I'm here every Tuesday and Saturday between 7 and 9 p.m. Central Time. Blue Eyes, I agree with you 100% on that. That is why there's such a huge divide right now. Exactly, Black Rose. You hit the nail right on the head. That is exactly what's happening. Exactly. It seems like, at first glance, that the world is getting darker. That there seems to be a rise in hatred and anger and violence and all of these terrible things. But it's not getting worse. It's getting better. The reason it seems worse is these things have been relegated to the darkness, to the shadows for thousands of years. And now the light is cracking through, and we're shining light into the darkness, into the shadows. And it's illuminating all of these things. It's exposing things like the pedophile rings, sex trafficking, the corruption of our government. All of those things, they're being exposed for a reason, because the light is being shown into the darkness and we are seeing it perhaps for the first time. Go Chiefs. I think there's more exposure behind the scenes. They're not showing us everything. Yeah, 100%. The divine feminine is on the rise, my friend, right now. Very much so. Kathy, what's really interesting, I want to talk about what you just said there. That all of the new technology is from them. The vast majority of our modern day technology was all invented by one person. One person. Whether you're talking about our electrical society, alternating current, the electrical induction motor, microwave technology, cellular technology, radio technology, remote controlled devices, pretty much any of it. It was all invented by one person, Nikola Tesla. And if you read some of the things that he is quoted as saying, or if you read his autobiography, he says that none of these things were of his own design, that the universe is conscious, and we have the ability to tap into that and receive the vast amount of information that is available to us via the field. He claimed that he was tapping into this giant field of consciousness that we all owe our existence to. And he received the ideas for these inventions through the field. So I don't know exactly what you mean by new technology. I don't know if you mean our technology in general, or if you're talking more pointedly about advanced technologies like particle acceleration and anti-gravity technology and things like that, then yes, I would certainly agree with you on that. But as far as the overwhelming majority of it, I think the bulk of it came from Nikola Tesla tapping into the field. Aquarius 237, we all have a magnetic field. Absolutely, my friend. And that's one of the keys to navigating the apocalypse. And again, I don't like using the word apocalypse because of all the baggage that is dragging around behind it. But the apocalypse really means to reveal. It means the veil falls and we see through the illusions for the first time, and we see the truth, right? It is the truth being revealed. So it is a very positive thing. But one of the keys to successfully navigating this period of time that we're in right now is understanding that all things are coupled together electromagnetically. Our bodies are coupled together electromagnetically with the earth. We are connected to it. Our earth is coupled electromagnetically to the sun. The sun is coupled electromagnetically to the galaxy, and so on and so forth. From the micro all of the way up to the macro, it is all connected. And yes, our body does project outward an electromagnetic field, just the same way that the earth does. That's what the chakras are there for. They produce a field around our body. Each and every single one of the chakras produce its own electromagnetic field. And it adds layer after layer after layer of shielding to our body. It's much more than that, though. The chakras are also dimensions of consciousness that we experience our reality through, like lenses through which we perceive our world and project ourselves outward onto the canvas of the world. So in this shift, doing the shadow work, healing the traumas, is like cleaning the lenses to make sure that the light that is coming through is not distorted. It's not muffled. We're seeing the truth accurately, and we are expressing ourselves accurately. Because whenever those things are not healed, and you have let's say, a childhood trauma that manifests as a blockage in your root chakra, then the energy becomes stagnant and trapped, and you cannot fully flow the energy through all of the chakras of the body. What can happen there is you can get trapped. You can get stuck in that lower dimension of consciousness that is in harmonic resonance with the root chakra. And so everything in your life will be all about survival. It will be all about your needs being met. You will manifest things into your reality that make it to where you have to focus on your survival. You might have a dead-end job to where you're barely making enough to make ends meet. Every paycheck you're struggling. Those things are all associated with the root chakra, with the roots, the foundation. But more than that, when you have unhealed trauma in a chakra, it creates a blockage of that energy. So that means the field that is generated by that chakra has a weak spot, kind of like the South Atlantic anomaly in the magnetosphere. So you have a chink in your armor, a weak spot. And we don't want weak spots going into this cycle, into the polar reversal. We want our field to be as healthy and free-flowing as possible. And again, that's one of the main topics I'm discussing in my book as well. DNA manipulated by the Anunnaki. I do think that there's a good chance that the Sumerian tablets are accurate in that regard. Thank you, Dory. I appreciate that kind comment. Ish, absolutely have heard of Dolores Cannon. She is one of the main topics that we discuss here in the Soul Group. I think that the world owes Dolores Cannon a debt of gratitude. She definitely fulfilled her calling in this lifetime, I believe. But yes, I'm very familiar with Dolores Cannon, and these things that I'm talking about right now, I believe, are the physical mechanism of the shift between the old earth and the new earth. It's how we get to the new earth. Access the A records. TikTok doesn't like you talking about this. It happens all of the time to me, and I apologize for that, guys. No, Aaron, the book's not almost done. I should probably be more upfront with that. The book is very much a work in progress, but I'm working on it. I'm writing on it every day, and I don't have a launch date yet. But what I want to start doing pretty much every time that I go live is I want to mention it. I want to talk about it and start spreading awareness that this is coming, so that there's an expectation for it, because this is a way bigger than just me. This is way bigger than my aspirations as a writer. This information is absolutely huge for as many people as possible to come across, even if that is through another person than myself. I fully believe that this is my calling, that Spirit charged me with 20 years ago, and that's why I'm writing this book. But it's supremely important to me that as many people as possible come across this information. Black Rose, I'm currently in Arkansas right now. So we needed this government. I am so far behind. By the time I get to your guys' comments, it probably don't make any sense by the time I read them. And I apologize. I'll try to catch up with you. Definitely need to do chakra work. You're not alone, my friend. Um, those of you OGs that's been around here for a while, you've heard me talk about my own journey and the things that I'm working through. Um, I'm I am very much a work in progress myself whenever it comes to these things. Nobody is perfect, okay? And I, for one, believe the healing journey is a never ending journey. We're always on that journey. We are, in many ways, the human condition is a lot like an onion, right? You can peel off a layer and think, oh, sweet, I got to the core of it. But right underneath that is another layer for you to peel off. And for me, I think more and more the path of spiritual awakening isn't really about learning or mastering skills or whatever. It's more and more about stripping away all of the things that we are not, exposing more of a true, authentic expression of ourself. And each layer that we peel off is like shedding of a skin, a previous version of ourselves that we became to survive, or we became to fit in society or do whatever. But it's not the true authentic version of ourselves. And sometimes the stripping away of those layers can be quite painful, right? Because we have attached ourselves and our identity to those false selves. And so we can experience many deaths in that process. Hello, Twinkle Star. Welcome in, my friend. Dolores was way ahead of her time for sure. Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. Thank you, Jamie. You guys are so awesome. Um, Grammy Liz, you say what information? I'm so far behind on my comment, I'm not sure which part you're asking me about. So if you could jog my memory and let me know exactly what I was saying when you typed that. Really, Black Rose, I hope that you do. If you're not already, I really hope that you do. Edgar Casey also spoke about extraterrestrials and DNA manipulation. I'm going to have to look into that because I really don't remember that. Thank you, my friend. I don't remember that with Edgar Casey. I don't doubt that he did. He did over 14,000 readings. So there's some really wild stuff that he talked about, um, especially the earliest civilizations, like the proto humans. If that's, I don't know if there's a better word for it than that, but Edgar Casey talked a lot about the earliest enmeshments of spirit and matter and how our form has changed tremendously over the eons. That there were a period of time where we were not in our modern human form. That there was several different, what's the term that he used? Essentially versions of humanity, but he had a specific term that he used. Um, Root race. That's what I'm looking for. There was um, four roots of humanity, and we are moving into the fifth right now, according to Edgar Casey. He said that the physical mechanism of that, by the way, was the sun. That it would upgrade our DNA and activate some of the junk DNA, turn off certain genes, turn on others, and our etheric, energetic bodies would be upgraded. that our physical bodies would become less dense and more light, and that we would develop new chakras for a total of 12 major chakras in the body. Kathy, I love that. As soon as I learn a lesson or unlearn a lesson, God is kind enough to give me a new lesson. You are not alone, my friend. And God loves us all so very much. Blue Eye said, is Elon Nikola Tesla who came back? You know, the thought has occurred to me before. I pondered it very briefly, but I quickly dismissed that. And the truth is, I don't know. I can't tell you yes or no either way. What I can tell you is energetically, he feels very different from Nikola Tesla. And intuitively, I feel no. If you just look at the persona of the two individuals, there's definitely similarities. There's supposed to be, right? But Nikola Tesla was the embodiment of the age of Aquarius. He was one of the front runners to usher in the energy of the age of Aquarius, to pave the way. He invented our entire electrical way of life. But more importantly, he embodied the humanitarian aspect of Aquarius. With every great invention that he had the ability to become the richest, most powerful human being that has ever lived. If he had just maintained his patent on the electrical induction motor, he would have bankrupted, was it General Electric or maybe one of the earlier companies before them? Just on that one patent alone, he would have been an ultra billionaire. And of course, he held hundreds of patents on all sorts of things. He didn't care about money. He wanted to improve our way of life. That's why he invented the Wardcliffe Tower that was broadcasting electricity wirelessly to the entire planet. You wouldn't need wires crisscrossing the land like spider webs, right? And you wouldn't need a meter on the side of your house. You could honestly just plug a light bulb into the ground and it would light up. He actually did that in different experiments. But once his financier figured out what he was planning on doing, they pulled the plug and said, no, we're not doing this. Why in the world would we give everyone electricity for free when we can put a meter on the side of their house and they will pay us for every single kilowatt of electricity that they consume? That's the difference between a capitalist and a humanitarian. And Nikola Tesla didn't care about making money. He cared about making the world a better place. I don't think you can say the same thing whenever it comes to Elon Musk. Maybe there's a little bit of humanitarianism in there, but I don't think that the energy is anywhere near on par with Nikola Tesla, in my own opinion. Thank you, Jamie, for letting me know about that. It's really difficult to search it on Telegram and actually get anywhere. So if you're trying to get into the Telegram group and the link doesn't work, which happens a lot, send me a direct message here on TikTok. And after the live is over, I will send you a direct link. And I think you have to copy and paste that. But it will add you to the group automatically. Had this discussion recently with AI. Yeah, I'll definitely have to look into that because Edgar Casey's my cup of tea for sure. Journey of the Souls. I'm familiar with that one. Yeah, I agree with you, Aaron. I think more than anything, he's trying to emulate Nikola Tesla. Elon went back in time to talk to Tesla. Nikola Tesla was absolutely involved with time travel. Whether or not he actually ever traveled in time is, up for debate. But the I honestly believe that there is plenty of ground to stand on to say that he had the ability to, at least he was laying the groundwork for time travel. He had such a phenomenal understanding of true physics and the way that the world works that I don't think that there still has been a human being since that has grasped the true nature and understanding of our world and the way that things work since Nikola Tesla. Um, but he was rumored to have created a machine that would allow for time travel, and I believe it's likely that he did. All right, everybody. So I don't want to close out the live quite yet, but I'm going to have to close it out soon so that I still have a little bit of time, a little bit of energy left in me tonight to work on the book. But if you guys have any final topics or questions or anything that you want to discuss before I close this out, now is the time to do that. I want to take this brief time while I'm waiting for you guys to throw a topic out there. Thank each and every one of you for being here and for sharing this time and space with me. This has been an exceptionally good live. I don't know what really triggered it, if it's the astrology or just everyone's collective energy. Um, but this has been a very high vibrational live. And I'm sure that you guys have felt that as well. Like the energy of this live has just been through the roof. And I am honored to have been a part of it and to meet and welcome in new members of the Soul Group community. It always just makes my day whenever that happens. So thank you all so much for being here. What do you recommend to someone recovering from back surgery to raise their vibration? There is a lot of different things that I would recommend there, depending on your specific situation. It's always it's always something that I think should be tailored specific to the individual. One of the best things in general that I would say that you could do is limit your exposure to artificial electromagnetic frequencies. So I would make sure that you're limiting exposure to things like screens as we're sitting here staring at a screen. I would definitely make sure if you have Wi-Fi that the router is not close to where you're recovering at. And if all possible, don't use LED bulbs to light your space. If you're not familiar with the whole topic of LED bulbs, let me know and I can cover that real quick before we close this out. But that's one of the biggies that will help you a lot during recovery. Okay, I see the question marks. We'll cover that real quick. Don't let me forget to circle back and finish this topic. But real quick, there is a reason why the Biden administration outlawed the sale or manufacture of incandescent lighting in the United States. And it's not because of energy savings. That was the official story of why it was banned. The real reason is because incandescent lighting very closely mirrors natural light. It it roughly carries the same spectrum of light as the sun. LED bulbs, or light emitting diode, is 100% tunable. They can be tuned to emit any wavelength of light, including that which we cannot detect with our eyes because they're not within the visible spectrum. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there, right? But that's just scratching the surface of why LED bulbs are dangerous. They're potentially hazardous to us because most LED bulbs, unless they specifically say they do not, are emitting a harmful blue light spectrum, which directly impacts the pineal gland. That's proven by science. I have the studies to back all of this up if you would like to do your own research, which I do recommend. Blue light LED bulbs directly impact the pineal gland, which is not only responsible for producing melatonin and regulating your circadian rhythm and your sleep cycles, but the pineal gland is also the seat of the soul, the third eye. It is the physical manifestation of your third eye in your physical body. And LED bulbs impact them directly. They can turn them on and they can turn it off just like a switch. And actually, the Department of Defense has, they have basically put out a statement, and this was 6 or 7 years ago, saying that they were interested in the militarization of the technology of LED bulbs. Why? What could they possibly do with an LED bulb for the military that would be of any benefit? They are studying it for its capacity to control your mind. And I know what that sounds like. That sounds like, okay, get out the tinfoil hat. This is why I say do your own research. That way it's not coming from some stranger on the internet and you can see what I'm talking about. There is science to back this up. This is why seasonal affective disorder exists. It's why people tend to become depressed in the wintertime because they are exposed to a different frequency of light from the sun. LED bulbs can mimic that and worse. So they can affect your mental and emotional state. They can trigger depression. They can trigger anxiety. They can keep you in a heightened state with your nervous system to where your body never fully settles into rest and digest, which, by the way, is where it heals. So if you are bathing your body in LED lights and you're trying to heal, you're working against yourself, which is why I said, if at all possible, don't use LED lights whenever you're trying to recover from something like back surgery. If any of you guys are interested in this, there is a video on my page that is all about LED bulbs, and I cite the studies that were all posted in major science journals that prove what I'm saying here. So you guys know I'm not just making this up, that I'm not just pulling something out of thin air. It's a real thing, and unfortunately, not enough people are aware of that. Sound healing is huge. Sound healing is absolutely huge. Another thing that I would say you could do to increase your frequency and expedite your healing is do your best not to wear synthetic fabrics. Synthetic fabrics are very low vibration and they lower your vibration. Things like spandex, nylon, man-made fabrics, rayon, those sorts of things. Mixed fabrics are even worse. So if you have a cotton shirt and you're wearing yoga pants that are woven with polyester and spandex, they actually have a canceling out effect of your frequency. They can lower your vibration substantially. But if you wear something, and by the way, there's also science behind this too. If you wear something like wool, which you got to get the right stuff, right? Because cheap wool is very uncomfortable and very itchy, but it's very high vibrational. It actually bolsters and strengthens your frequency vibration, which is why, by the way, in Judaism, there was a biblical law. It wasn't a real law, but it was one of the rules that the Jews followed about not wearing mixed fabrics. Thousands of years ago, they knew this. Wool is one of the best. Linen is absolutely supreme whenever it comes to fabrics. So, if you're spending a lot of time in bed, as an example, I would make sure that you're doing everything that you can to control that environment and make it conducive to healing. So, I would get some good linen sheets. Linen is very good for your vibration. That's why they use linen sheets in hospitals. That is actually something that's been handed down for hundreds of years. And honestly, the vast majority of people within the hospitality community probably have no idea why they use linen, but that's why. It's because it's naturally very high in vibration. Bedridden for now. Another thing that I would strongly recommend, if you have the ability to do this, is get a grounding sheet so that you can physically ground your body. That will help a lot. And if you're bedridden, it would be an excellent opportunity to ground your body and connect with the earth's energy that way. Knew I like cashmere. Exactly. That's why. That's why you like it. So, what do you use for lights? The unfortunate reality, Songbird, is that the job that I have right now, I travel all the time, all throughout the week. Today, I'm in Little Rock. Tomorrow, I might be 4 hours away on the opposite side of the state. And so I go all over the place. So I'm kind of at the mercy to where I stay for lighting throughout the week. In my home, I've started replacing any bulbs that were LED with incandescent bulbs. You can still get them if you have to dig and you have to search. But Amazon has some that they're way more expensive than they used to be because they stopped manufacturing them. But you can still get them. As far as artificial lighting goes, incandescent lights are the best. My recommendation, where feasible, is to use a natural source of light, um, like your windows during the day. Let in as much natural light as possible. But, like now at nighttime or in the evening, that's not very helpful. Candlelight is very close to the natural spectrum of light. It adds ambience and it actually adds to the vibration of your space. It can actually add a good deal while adding lighting, but it's not nearly as efficient or as convenient as modern lighting where you just flip a switch. And of course, with candles, if you're trying to light your whole house with candles, you got to be really careful so that you're not, risking knocking over a candle and starting a fire. But it's definitely a lot healthier option than LED bulbs or even CFL bulbs. Both of those have been proven to have a very detrimental impact on your health. Oh, thank you, Annette. I appreciate that. Deborah, I did not know it's illegal to ship them to California, but I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. In my book, California is about the worst state for stuff like that. And I understand why. The bulk of the reason is for the environment. And I get it. The fact is, LED bulbs are made with plastic. And plastic is one of the worst things for the environment, right? Incandescent bulbs are almost entirely glass or metal. Not so bad for the environment, right? And do they use more electricity? They do. LED bulbs are more efficient than incandescent bulbs, but it's not nearly as extreme as what they would have you to think that it is. And so they made these changes, and they say that it's to save on electrical consumption and to be more eco-friendly and yada yada yada. But the reality is it's not better for the environment, and it's certainly not better for human health. Yes, the long lights in school, fluorescent bulbs, those are the same. Fluorescent bulbs work by a compressed gas in a tube that is excited by electricity, and it causes the gas to glow. They're not nearly as bad as LED bulbs, but they're still not good. They're still not as good as incandescent bulbs. Any kind of CFL bulb is the same. It has an unnatural spectrum of light that the human body naturally would not be exposed to, and so has been linked to things like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, depression, anxiety, in numerous studies that have been documented by science. This is not just randomness that I'm making up. There was a huge push to LED lights, and that's the main reason why. Fluorescent bulbs make me very nervous. Yeah, I don't like the way I feel being around fluorescent lighting or LED lights. In fact, I'm to the point now, it used to kind of put my nervous system on edge. But now I get to the point to where I have really, really bad headaches, especially around my eyes, and I have to just shut off all the lights. I can't take it anymore. And a lot of it is because they, especially LED bulbs, they pulse thousands of times a minute, so fast that your eyes don't pick up on it, but your nervous system does, and it's not good for your nervous system. It's very jarring. I'm turning all the lights off as we speak. Well, I hope that this is the information I'm sharing with you guys. Not just this topic, but all the topics. It's never designed to spread fear or to cause worry or anything like that. It is to spread awareness, right? Just like with the LED bulb thing. If we don't know about it, then we can't do anything about it. We can't change it, right? But if we become aware that it might be harmful for us, then we can do something different that is a healthier option for us. So I hope that that's the takeaway for you guys. Not like, oh my gosh, we got to be hyper vigilant and afraid of the lights, right? I definitely don't want that. Whole screen just glitched. Yeah, Songbird, I've been there, and I agree. Done the same thing to me. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and close this live out for now, um, since apparently I can't speak anymore. But thank you all so much for being here and for sharing this time and space with me. I love each and every one of you guys. And those of you who are tuning in for the first time here, thank you so much. And I'm glad that you found us. Anytime that happens, I firmly believe that it is synchronistic, and it is through divine guidance and divine timing that you found your way to the soul group and connected with other like-minded souls. I don't think there was anything coincidental about that. And I think that you will probably see that in the future if you don't already. But thank you all so much for being here. Hope everyone has a fantastic night. And I will see you all again Saturday at 7 p.m. Again, if you guys want to join any of the stuff I talked about and you have issues with that, just send me a message and I'll help you get added to whatever it is. Thank you, Black Rose. All right, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see you soon.